Hey, how should we get by today financially? My husband had invited me to a fancy Chinese restaurant, and it was while we were dining there. I heard the voice of our eldest son's wife when as I stepped out of the room to head to the restroom. They couldn't possibly afford to dine at such a place, so I was curious how they managed to get in. Just as I reached out for the door to return to the room, I was stunned by their conversation. I'm afraid this might mean you won't be able to see your son and his wife for a while. I immediately reported the conversation of our eldest son and his wife to my husband and the restaurant staff, and we decided to take action. When his wife asked for a final confirmation, both Michael and I nodded firmly. It's no trouble at all. We'd appreciate your cooperation. And so, our counterattack against our eldest son and his wife began. My name is Lisa Johnson. With my husband Michael, we are an 80-year-old couple enjoying a comfortable and leisurely retirement. Michael and I share a hobby, gateball, which we enjoy together. There are days when I spend time alone, with Michael playing chess with friends and me enjoying conversations with the barista at my favorite cafe. We were spending our days quite leisurely. We have a son. His name is David. He must be around 50 years old by now. He was happily married to his wife, Sarah, and they led a content life. Sarah was a homemaker, and they didn't have any children. Having kids would just eat up all our time together. I still want to enjoy our peaceful moments, just the two of us. David would say, wrapping his arm around Sarah. To David, Sarah seemed like his soulmate, and he was utterly smitten with her. Initially, I found their affection for each other endearing, and I could understand their desire for alone time. But the next words from Sarah made both Michael and me stiffen. We could always adopt if we really wanted to, without me having to go through the pain of childbirth. I'm not really keen on the idea of wanting kids that badly. Sarah said this with a laugh, and I was taken aback. I couldn't comprehend how David could laugh along with her. Maybe these two weren't quite right in the head. Since then, we hadn't been very close with David and his wife. It felt like getting more involved might only worsen our relationship. But perhaps the slight distance between us was a good thing, as we never faced any in-law issues. Life was smooth, with no troubles, and it seemed like time would just peacefully continue to flow. I was almost forgetting about the whole incident while lost in such carefree thoughts. The event happened when I was out shopping at the supermarket. I felt a gaze on me and turned around to see several neighbors whispering to each other while looking in my direction. Hello, everyone. Out for shopping? Curious, I approached them to start a conversation, but for some reason, they greeted me awkwardly, as if they were uncomfortable. If I had to put it into words, it felt like I was being avoided. It was so blatant that I immediately sensed they were avoiding me. Why, though? The answer was simple. Because I had coffee with them yesterday. Who would have thought that things would change so drastically from one day to the next? I wondered if I had done something wrong and stood there, lost in thought, for a while. Suddenly, a man's loud voice shouting in anger echoed from the direction of the cash registers throughout the store. So, how are you going to take responsibility for this? The loud shouting of the man made me tense up, and the gazes of those around me shifted towards the commotion. What had been a store filled with cheerful conversations up until moments ago suddenly fell into an eerie silence, an abnormal shift in atmosphere. The only sounds echoing through the store were the continuing shouts of the angry man and the apologies of a cashier. We'll replace it right away. Please wait just a moment. That's not what I want, don't you get it? I'm saying lower the price. Faced with such unreasonable demands, I turned towards the cash register, incredulous. And then, the person I saw made me doubt my own eyes for a moment. David. Incredibly, it was David who was raising his voice. As soon as I caught sight of him, I rushed over to him. Noticing me, David turned around and greeted me with a carefree smile, raising his hand in hello. Hey, Mom. Are you shopping? His demeanor had changed completely from the shouting to a friendly smile. David had always been kind to family but harsh to others, a trait that seemed to have intensified with age. No, it's more than that, he seems to have forgotten how to behave as a person. That's the impression I got. Why are you shouting so loudly? There was a bug in the cabbage I picked up here. I almost ate it without noticing. A complaint or two is only natural, right? He must have realized I approached him not just to say hello but to intervene. Upon this realization, David's response changed dramatically. He began to explain the situation to me in a hostile tone, clearly seeing me as an adversary. His attitude was so overbearing, I was taken aback that he was my own son. Bugs, so what? Just get it replaced, right? All this fuss over a piece of cabbage. Aren't you embarrassed? Why should I be the one getting scolded? It's this supermarket's fault, right? They say they'll replace it. But I'm so shocked I feel sick just looking at cabbage now. It's not just about replacing it. The more I tried to intervene, the more David escalated the situation. While I felt the painful sting of embarrassed gazes, David seemed to relish the attention, continuing to shout as if he wanted more. He was probably trying to make a scene to pressure the store into compensating him more. If this commotion continues, it could easily turn into a matter for the police. Thinking this, I handed the cabbage to a cashier and left my empty shopping basket with them, then forcibly dragged David out of the supermarket. Mom. What the heck? That's my line. What about you, making such a scene over a cabbage? You're out of your mind. Although I managed to get David outside, calming him down was nearly impossible given his agitated state. And I, too, was furious, ashamed of how my son had turned out. A full-blown argument between adults right in front of the supermarket. Naturally, it drew the attention of passers-by, as one would expect. My anger didn't subside, and the argument with David continued. What's the big deal about finding a bug in the cabbage anyway? It's a sign of freshness. Are you insane? Fine, from now on, you eat cabbage with bugs in it every day. How long do you plan on keeping up this ridiculous childish argument? Attracted by the commotion, Sarah, who must have been waiting in the car, showed up. Seeing her, David and I stopped arguing, and he ran over to his wife, grinning sheepishly. Sorry, Sarah, did I keep you waiting? This was the first time I felt disgusted by David doting on his wife. After what had just happened, my opinion of David had plummeted. I've waited so long. Did you get the money? Sarah's tone was domineering, a side of her I hadn't felt before. Well? Mom got in the way. What? Don't tell me you didn't get it. Sarah looked down on David as if he were a servant, her tone rough and aggressive. I was speechless at her behavior, so unlike the woman I thought I knew. Sorry. I'll go back and try again. Don't need it anymore. How long do you plan to make me wait? Sorry. Against the harsh Sarah, David seemed as small as a cat with its neck pinched. I was at a loss for words. As I stared at them in bewilderment, Sarah turned her gaze towards me. It's been a while, Lisa. Seems like you've caused us some trouble. Sarah's tone was cold and irritated as she addressed me. I couldn't grasp the meaning of her words and instinctively asked her to repeat them. This seemed to irritate her even further, as she turned expressionless and cast a cold, disdainful glance my way. Could you please refrain from meddling in our affairs from now on? It's quite a nuisance when we're trying to make a living. Trouble? You mean, that complaint earlier was. Just as I was about to continue, Sarah emitted an intimidating aura that silenced me mid-sentence. Feeling the fear akin to being glared at by a wild beast, I involuntarily choked on my words. I've told you, haven't I? Please, no more interference. Whatever happens afterward is not our concern. With those threatening words, Sarah left with a subdued David in tow. Left behind, I could only stand alone in the parking lot, watching David's car drive away. Could it be that complaint was deliberate? As I watched them drive off, I reflected on my last exchange with Sarah. Causing trouble, our livelihood depends on it. This could mean they are deliberately making complaints to swindle money. And then, there's Sarah's attitude and tone. What on earth? I was pondering this, but I would soon learn the answer. The day after the altercation with David and Sarah, a close neighbor came to visit our home. And they appeared quite distressed, with a change in their complexion. What's wrong? You seem so rushed. Lisa, it's terrible, your daughter-in-law, she was arguing with my husband. This neighbor was Jessica, the wife of the owner of my regular cafe. Feeling awkward about encountering the neighbors at the supermarket, I had been avoiding the place, but it seems David and Sarah showed up there. Apparently, they had caused a scene similar to the previous day, angering the cafe owner. David recorded the confrontation, and Sarah incited the owner, leading to a near-explosive situation. I hurriedly called Michael and went with Jessica to her cafe. Look, Lisa's here with her husband. Oh, Michael and Lisa. What's going on with your son and his wife? They're causing trouble at my cafe. We immediately apologized, knowing the cafe owner. We're so sorry. We'll take them home right away. It's you again, huh? David clicked his tongue, and Sarah muttered something in annoyance. Despite the rising anger, I wanted to resolve the situation more than anything. What's with that attitude? You're married into this family, aren't you? How dare you speak to your mother-in-law like that? The cafe owner, still caring for us despite the situation, moved me. But it seemed to annoy Sarah even more. I married David, not anyone else. That's all that matters to me. And serving such awful food to your customers, what were you thinking? What? You still have the nerve to say that? The cafe owner was about to confront her, but Michael calmed him down, apologizing deeply on the spot. We're truly sorry. We'll make amends for this rudeness at a later date. There are other customers here. Please, let's calm down for now. Michael apologized deeply. Seeing this, the cafe owner's anger subsided, and he asked us to just take David and Sarah home, saying that he didn't need any payment for the moment. Silently, my husband and I took them back home and led them to the living room. As soon as she sat on the sofa, Sarah sighed heavily, looking exhausted, while David seemed anxious, trying to appease her mood. Do you even realize what you've done? It was Michael who spoke up quietly. His expression was blank, yet his voice carried a tinge of anger. I had never seen Michael like this, even after all the years we've been together. It was so frightening that I, sitting right next to him, couldn't help but shiver. What do you mean? I just complained about the taste, that's all. I just didn't want to pay for such awful food. But Sarah was unfazed by his tone. Instead, she glared back defiantly, insisting she was in the right. What you're doing is a professional complainer. That store is run by a dear friend who has been very kind to us. So what? That has nothing to do with us. Facing Sarah, who seemed immune to common sense, Michael's anger only grew. I thought it wouldn't be good to give in to anger at this point. So, I decided to intervene in their conversation. Sarah, weren't you making our son do the same thing at the supermarket yesterday? Are you deliberately lodging complaints to skim money off? I voiced my suspicion. Between what happened yesterday and today, it's clear their actions are beyond common sense. They're nitpicking to get things for free. And their behavior is so extreme that no other explanation seems to fit. At this, Sarah burst into laughter. She laughed so hard she started to tear up, leaving both Michael and me dumbfounded. Lisa, you're quite sharp, aren't you? Exactly, if there's a way to eat cheaper, wouldn't anyone want to? I don't see what's so funny about that. Despite having her motives guessed, Sarah continued to laugh, showing no sign of being upset or confused. It was maddening. Her behavior left both Michael and me at a loss for words. Paying full price for food is just ridiculous when there are cheaper ways. I don't understand why everyone doesn't do it. Are you sane? Don't you realize that's practically criminal? You say criminal, but you know, most places don't want to make a big deal and tarnish their reputation. So they hardly ever call the police. They usually just give in to our demands to keep things quiet. You're insane. Your way of thinking is just not right. Even Michael, who had been silent, was taken aback by her remarks. Sarah continued, almost mocking him. Maybe I am crazy. But I've been doing things like this since I was young, so it's nothing new to me. It was then revealed that she used to be the leader of a ladies' gang. She shared her life story with us. I grew up in an orphanage and never knew my parents. By the time I realized it, I was part of a gang, and this kind of life was normal for me. So I don't see it as wrong. David, who seemed to idolize Sarah for her strong-willed nature, was eager to do anything she wanted. I like strong women like Sarah. I'll do anything she wants. David, you. Watching David speak adoringly of Sarah, I was filled with regret that my child had grown up to be this kind of adult. If you keep pestering us, I won't show any mercy, even to you, my in-laws. Consider this a final warning. With that, Sarah stood up, and David followed her out. I tried to hold them back, saying the conversation wasn't over, but my words fell on deaf ears. Michael and I could only stand there, watching their backs as they left. Attempts to contact David afterward, through phone calls or visits, were met with rejection. Our calls were blocked, and we became estranged. Following that incident, we, as a couple, started receiving cold stares from our neighbors. In a small town, rumors spread quickly, and being ignored or having our greetings unreturned became the norm. The whispers of passers-by made me paranoid, thinking they might be talking about me. We even went to apologize to the cafe we had troubled, only to be told not to come back as long as we were associated with David and Sarah. I was overwhelmed with frustration, and that night, I cried myself to sleep. Suppressing my voice, I cried, overwhelmed by the desire to just disappear because of the pain. Mentally exhausted, I ended up spending the next few days confined to bed. Fearful of even stepping outside, Michael took care of all the household chores for me. One day, Michael suggested we go out for a change of scenery. A friend who runs a Chinese restaurant said he'd love for you to come. This restaurant, run by Michael's friend, was exclusive and usually didn't welcome walk-ins. Hearing about my condition, they had insisted on inviting us over. You've been so down, wouldn't it be nice to eat something delicious and cheer up? Michael said, gently patting my back, his kindness making him all the more dear to me. Grateful for having married him, I accepted the dinner invitation. My face had grown thin from days of barely eating. I tried to hide it with makeup, but Michael saw through my forced smiles, telling me I didn't need to pretend. With a heart full of wishes I knew wouldn't come true, we headed to the restaurant. Upon arrival, we were warmly greeted by Brian and Stephanie. Welcome, I've been waiting for you. It's been a while. We're in your care today. Lisa, please make yourself comfortable. The Chinese cuisine our young chefs prepare is exceptional. Stephanie said, her gentle demeanor and Brian's solid presence providing a sense of relief. Smiling weakly, I nodded in response to their kind words. Concerned for my weakened state, Stephanie took my hand and supported me as she guided us through the restaurant. The interior, meticulously cleaned, radiated a sense of cleanliness. Welcome. We've been waiting for you. The one who greeted us with those words was the head chef, Alex. His energy was so uplifting that it almost overwhelmed my despondent spirit with its vigor. I'll put my best effort into today's dishes. Alex's cooking is truly exceptional. Please, relax and enjoy your meal. The one who offered that comforting smile was the server, Evelyn. Her gentle smile soothed my heart, and a natural smile found its way back to my face. It was while we were being treated to delicious Chinese cuisine that I almost began to forget about David and his wife's troubles. Hey, how should we get by today financially? On my way to the restroom, I happened to hear a familiar voice coming from one of the private rooms. In a store known to my parents? That might be risky. What are you scared of? It's no different from the places we usually go to. Still, I mean, since when did you become such a wimp? I get so annoyed seeing men without any backbone. I immediately recognized it was David and Sarah from the tone and words. How did they manage to get into this restaurant? It was just as I reached out to touch the door of the room, intending to listen closer. Hearing the content of the conversation, the color drained from my face. And just then, I nearly collapsed on the spot. Ma'am? Are you all right? Do you feel unwell? Alex was there to explain the dishes. Unable to explain my situation, I simply expressed my desire to return to our room. But in my weakened state, walking was a challenge. Upon hearing this, Alex hesitated before saying, I'm sorry, it might not be appropriate since you're a lady, but... Considering the emergency, he gently lifted me and carried me back to the room. Upon being hurriedly brought to the room, I found Michael, Stephanie, and Brian already gathered inside. Stephanie rushed to my side in surprise and concern as Alex and I arrived, breathless. Alex gently set me down in a chair and joined us inside, ensuring our conversation remained private. What happened to you? Are you all right? My body is fine. But you? It's serious. David and his wife. David. What happened? Seeing my pale face, Michael calmly offered me some tea to help me relax. After taking a sip of tea and calming my nerves with a deep breath, I explained the conversation I had overheard outside the room and the situation. Actually, a couple by the name of Johnson did come in today. What? I remembered that we had brought David and his wife to this restaurant when they got married. At that time, Brian had made a membership card for them, knowing they were our children. So, that's how they managed to come here for a meal. I'm sorry. It's all because I did something unnecessary. Why are you apologizing, Brian? We are the ones who should be sorry. What should we do now? It would be bad if they start causing trouble inside the restaurant. As we all worried about the situation, Alex came up with a suggestion. How about this? We were hesitant to accept his proposal. But that would be too much to ask of you, Alex. Don't worry about it. If I can help you out, this is the least I can do. Alex's hearty laugh and reassuring demeanor brought a smile to our faces, despite the situation. But doing this might mean you won't be able to see your son and his wife for a while. Stephanie looked at us sternly, making sure we were ready for the consequences. Michael and I exchanged glances and nodded slightly. It's all right. If you can help us, we would greatly appreciate it. Are you sure about this? Yes. We can't stop them on our own. Please, we're counting on you. And so, our counteraction against David and his wife began. Hey, call the manager over here. As expected, Sarah started shouting in the restaurant, causing other customers to peek out from their private rooms, wondering what the commotion was about. I'm the head chef, Alex, but what seems to be the problem? Alex rushed over to ask David and his wife what had happened. There's a hair in the soup we were served. How are you going to make this right? We're paying good money here, so take responsibility. Sarah, as usual, began complaining. The surrounding customers murmured among themselves, and the staff expressed their concern. A hair, you say? Alex, however, remained composed and addressed the situation firmly. Upon inspecting the soup with the alleged hair, he noticed something odd. This hair doesn't belong to any of our staff. David and Sarah looked nervously at Alex as he calmly analyzed the situation. The surrounding customers became increasingly interested, and everyone in the restaurant turned their attention to the exchange between David, Sarah, and Alex. What do you mean by that? We don't have any staff with dyed hair, and certainly no one with hair this long. What are you saying? Sarah was flustered by Alex's keen observation. But then David began to make excuses, trying to defend their actions. Are you accusing us, the customers? Of course not. However, if this was intentionally placed by a customer, that would be a serious issue, wouldn't it? Show us proof that we did it before you start making accusations. If proof is found, then it's all right to speak up, correct? Hearing the conversation, the wife appeared, followed by Brian, making their presence known. Despite the firm stance taken by everyone, David looked around nervously, taken aback by their unwavering demeanor. What you're doing is a clear crime, you know? Wouldn't it be wise to realize your place before making a bigger scene? What? You guys, is this how you treat your customers at a high-end restaurant? You're not customers or anything of the sort. Michael retorted, not backing down from David and Sarah's persistent defiance. Upon recognizing the familiar voices, David and Sarah turned to face us, their expressions puzzled. You two again? Why are you here? That's our line. This place belongs to our dear friends. Enough with the disgraceful behavior. Disgraceful? There was a hair in the food. This is a legitimate complaint. You're barking up the wrong tree. We know you intentionally put the hair in there. I pointed to the ceiling, indicating something. On the ceiling, there was a black, round device installed. What's that supposed to be? You don't know? That's a security camera. So what? As I informed Sarah in a manner that seemed to look down on her ignorance, she displayed her anger openly. Even as she glared at me defiantly, it seemed she had yet to grasp the significance of the camera's presence. It was David who first understood the situation. Wait, that means? Why are you suddenly looking so pale? Looks like David realizes what a security camera means. So what? Sarah was visibly frustrated by the slow unraveling of the situation. Seeing is believing. Believing it was better to show than tell, Michael opened the door and pointed to the ceiling. There was a security camera installed there. That camera can cover 360 degrees, capturing everything around it. Even Sarah had to acknowledge the implication. Her face turned pale as she opened and closed her mouth like a fish out of water. If you're still not convinced, we can have that hair DNA tested or whatever. We're prepared to take this to the very end. Brian added to the pressure with a wide grin, threatening them further. Then, the sound of sirens approached from outside. What? Looks like your ride is here. My ride? Sarah reacted with a pale face to my words. With a cold smile, I replied. It's time to say goodbye to you two for a while. What do you mean? Before the bewildered David and Sarah, the police appeared. They began questioning them, surrounded by officers. Are you the ones who have been causing a disturbance and trying to press charges unjustly? Disturbance. Those people. They've been making baseless complaints to get free meals. I interrupted David's attempt at an excuse, explaining the situation to the officers. David and Sarah resisted, but the officer warned that further resistance could worsen their situation, quieting them down. For now, let's discuss this at the police station. Shall we go together? That's absurd. We haven't done anything wrong. Give it up. The police already know everything. We've told them about your false testimonies and attempts to frame this restaurant. All the despicable things you've done up until now will also be addressed. Make sure to tell them everything. That's the situation. We'll take our time to listen to everything you have to say, no matter how many hours it takes. Shall we go? The officer's face, smiling amiably as he spoke, carried an underlying sense of intimidation. Even the usually volatile Sarah had no choice but to calm down. Then, we'll take them with us. Thank you very much. Michael and I expressed our gratitude to the polite officers. As David and Sarah were escorted away, a round of applause erupted from within the restaurant. That was awesome. Alex, great acting. I was worried it might be too obvious. We could only feel thankful for the warmth and camaraderie of the regular customers, who shared their thoughts with laughter. Alex, Stephanie, Brian, thank you so much. Not at all. If this brings you peace of mind, it's our greatest pleasure. It turned out just as Alex predicted. If it's something that type would do, you can usually guess. Laughing, Alex was someone neither Michael nor I could thank enough. Back then, Alex made a suggestion. It was to unsettle David and Sarah with a bluff. We do have employees with dyed hair, and while that is a security camera, it doesn't cover 360 degrees. I was worried they might know too much. It was a gamble, but I'm glad it worked out. All thanks to Stephanie, Brian, and everyone's cooperation. Thank you very much. As we expressed our gratitude, warm voices from around the restaurant told us not to worry about it. The restaurant reassured us not to worry, explaining the situation to the customers and staff, who all supported us. We had asked for help in case David and Sarah caused a scene, and everyone acted out their parts perfectly. Let's resume our enjoyable meal. Today, it's on the house. Brian's generosity brought joy to everyone, allowing us to spend a delightful time together. Subsequently, David and Sarah were sued by the restaurant and faced a significant compensation claim. The case went to court, and it was highly likely that they would receive actual prison sentences. Moreover, a video of them quarreling with the cafe owner, which they had posted on social media, came to light. They were sued for this as well, and their notoriety spread throughout the town. Naturally, it became difficult for David and Sarah to continue living in the town, and they ended up leaving as if fleeing. Michael and I pondered how we could repay the kindness of both the cafe and the upscale Chinese restaurant. We decided to use social media to highlight the positive aspects of both eateries. With the help of a friend skilled in social media, both places flourished due to our efforts. We managed to reconcile with the neighbors and can now enjoy tea there as a couple once again. We've completely cut ties with David and Sarah, and at over 80 years old, Michael and I are living happily. We have no interest in what became of David and Sarah, as our days are filled with joy. This incident has deeply reinforced the lesson that seeking easy rewards can lead to dire consequences. Unable to move due to a high fever, I asked my eldest son, Michael, to bring me a glass of water. I thought he would do at least that much for me, but what Michael brought was a glass of beer instead. Then, he proceeded to splash that beer on me, lying in bed with a high fever. From the direction of the door, I heard giggling and saw Susan clapping and laughing. Michael, standing in front of me, was holding the empty glass and laughing with her. I couldn't believe it. Even though I was dizzy from the fever, that scene was vividly burned into my memory. Make sure the house is clean by the time I return. Until now, I had tolerated the whims of my eldest son and his wife, but I couldn't stand it anymore. Yes, I'll make sure it's clean. Despite my sore throat, I made sure my words were loud enough for my eldest son and his wife to hear. My name is Emily. I'm a 73-year-old homemaker. My husband, Brian, is 75. Now retired, he teaches calligraphy to children at a nearby community center. Having pursued calligraphy since his youth, it was my husband's dream to open a calligraphy class after retirement. Seeing him head to the community center every day, happy to fulfill his dream, brought me joy too. We have 2 sons. Our younger son, David, is married with 2 elementary school-aged children, but our 44-year-old eldest son, Michael, was unmarried and lived with us at home. He seemed to be working part-time at a convenience store at night, but only about 4 days a week, contributing no money to the household and leading an aimless life. Both my husband and I have warned him several times, but Michael never took it to heart. He's not into gambling or debt. Gradually, both my husband and I stopped nagging him about it. Then one day, out of the blue, Michael declared, we got married, bringing home his wife, Susan, without any prior introduction. She entered our home without even greeting us, and from that day on, I found myself preparing meals for Susan as well. I didn't mind preparing meals for her, but she neither helped around the house nor cleaned up after herself. She never thanked us, and even demanded coffee after meals. Seeing enough, my husband sternly advised the young couple, which made them less demanding in his presence. However, in his absence, even things like, Emily, could you please get this dress dry cleaned for me, became a regular demand. Thinking it was far too selfish, I voiced my concerns, only to have Michael side with his wife. It's just on the way when you go shopping. Don't be so stingy, he said. Despite saying that, Michael hasn't contributed at all to the household expenses, bringing his wife home without asking and both of them living off us without contributing anything. And then demanding more seemed unreasonable to me. I was debating whether to discuss it with my husband or not. But, not wanting to witness a family quarrel, I decided to wait a bit longer and today, again, gave in to Susan's demand, taking her dress for dry cleaning. About twice a year, we visit our younger son and his family living in Washington. We've planned another visit for the upcoming long weekend. Since we often visit, and the younger family occasionally comes to see us, the grandchildren are very fond of us. We've already bought their favorite toys as gifts and plan to buy a cake as a souvenir on our way there. Instead of flying, we usually go by car to enjoy the scenery on our way to see our younger son's family. The view from the plane is nice, but now that we have more time, driving suits us better. The day before our visit, excited beyond my years, I waved goodbye to my husband as he went to his calligraphy class, then set out for shopping. Stopping by a bakery on the way home from the nearby supermarket, I saw handmade cookies for sale. Thinking they would last longer than cake, I bought some for my grandchildren. Imagining their happy faces, I headed home. Then it started to drizzle. As I hurried home, the rain turned into a downpour. I hurried to buy an umbrella at a nearby convenience store, but by the time I arrived, my clothes were already soaked. I thought about taking shelter at the store, but I decided not to, wanting to warm up my chilled body with a hot bath. so I bought an umbrella and rushed home. Upon arriving and intending to bathe, Susan appeared, saying, "Emily, were you planning to take a bath now? I have to go out soon. Let me use the bathroom first. Please start preparing dinner in a hurry." Then she closed the bathroom door on me. This isn't your house, I thought, as I reluctantly changed and started preparing dinner. While cooking, I began to sneeze. It would be terrible to catch a cold right before we leave. However, Susan, who loves long baths, didn't come out of the bathroom for over an hour. The morning of the day we were supposed to visit our younger son's family, I woke up feeling sluggish. My throat hurt, and I had a runny nose. When I checked my temperature, it was 99.5 degrees Fahrenheit. It seems I caught a cold from the rain yesterday. Not wanting to pass the cold to my grandchildren, I told my husband to go alone. He suggested canceling the trip, but the grandchildren were waiting. I had also bought gifts for the grandchildren and insisted that he visit our younger son's family alone. Handing over the cookies I had bought at the bakery the day before. My husband was worried about me, but I assured him it was a mild fever and probably just a light cold. And that I would be fine resting at home with some medication. Usually, my husband doesn't speak much to my eldest son and his wife, but that day, he informed the waking couple of my poor health and made them promise to take care of the household chores. After sending off my worried husband with a smile, as I was about to return to bed, I overheard a conversation between my eldest son and his wife. Ugh, such a hassle. It's just a cold, isn't it? But with Brian gone, we can do as we please for a bit. It's unbelievable to hear such lines from people who live off us without contributing to the household expenses. But it's typical behavior in front of me. Don't you realize that you're able to live here because of your father? I admonished them, which seemed to annoy them as Michael retorted, "We're living with the old folks as a favor to you." His wife added, "Exactly. Most people would hate living with their spouse's parents." Despite them moving in uninvited, my eldest son and his wife had the audacity to say such things. However, wanting to rest due to my sluggishness, I ignored their words and returned to my room. That evening, Susan came into my room and woke me up. "Emily, do you intend not to cook just because you feel a bit under the weather? You know I can't cook, right?" A 35-year-old woman shouldn't be saying such things to her mother-in-law, demanding meals just because she can't cook. Since I'm not feeling well, I wish they would manage their own meals. I know my husband warned my eldest son and his wife about this before he left in the morning. I tried to ignore her and go back to sleep. Susan wouldn't leave the room. Thinking I should eat something light before taking medicine, I forced my weary body up and headed to the kitchen to cook. Michael returned while I was preparing the meal. He saw me in the kitchen wearing a surgical mask, but he didn't say a word to me, as if it were the most natural thing. Not only that, but he also complained, "Hey, the bath isn't ready yet." To my eldest son and his wife, it didn't matter if I was sick, it doesn't matter to them. Knowing they wouldn't listen to any admonition and wanting to rest sooner, I finished cooking and went to prepare the bath. Returning to the living room, I saw my eldest son and his wife eating and chatting happily. "We're going on an overseas trip the day after tomorrow, so please don't give us your cold," they said. Surprised by the sudden mention of an overseas trip, I ate my meal in the dining room, not the warm living room, as Susan suggested. In the living room, the two of them were excitedly talking about their trip. Michael was taking time off from his part-time job, and they were planning a 3-week trip to Europe. I hadn't heard about my eldest son and his wife's overseas trip, but I was grateful they wouldn't be home for the next few days. The morning they were leaving for their trip, my cold had worsened so much that I couldn't get up. My temperature, measured with a nearby thermometer, was 103.1 degrees Fahrenheit. I was thirsty but couldn't even lift my head due to a severe headache. That's when Michael came to me. "Hey, make some food already. You can still cook even with a cold," he said. Tears almost came to my eyes as my son demanded I cook in such a condition. "Eat out," I told him. Michael frowned at my response but left the room without saying anything. When Michael was leaving the room, I asked him to bring me just a glass of water. I thought he would at least do that much for me, but what Michael brought back was a glass of beer. Then, he splashed that beer on me as I lay in bed with a high fever. From the direction of the door, I heard giggling and saw Susan clapping and laughing. Michael, too, stood in front of me with the empty glass, laughing. I couldn't believe it. Even though I was dizzy from the fever, that scene was vividly imprinted in my mind. Make sure the house is clean by the time I return. I had tolerated my eldest son and his wife's selfishness until now, but I couldn't stand it any longer. Yes, I'll make sure it's clean. Bearing the pain in my throat, I made sure my words were loud enough for my eldest son and his wife to hear. After they left the house seemingly in good spirits, I didn't have the energy to wipe off the sticky beer from my face and just fell asleep. When I woke up, I felt somewhat refreshed. Though my head was still fuzzy, I remembered Michael splashing beer on me, but surprisingly, I wasn't sticky at all. Even the bedding had been changed to a new one. As I was pondering this, my husband came in with a wash basin. Seeing me sitting up, he rushed over, touched my forehead, and asked, "Are you okay? Why is my husband here? Shouldn't he be with our younger son's family?" I tried to ask, but couldn't find my voice. Realizing what I was trying to say, my husband began to explain. He had gone to visit our younger son's family but returned early because he was worried about me. It seemed unlikely that my eldest son and his wife would take care of anyone, so they were not reliable. My younger son and his wife also said he should return home soon, so he hurried back home. Upon returning home and finding me bedridden and somehow smelling of beer, he quickly wiped my face with a wet towel, cleaned up the surroundings, and had been taking care of me. I had been sleeping for a whole day. When my husband asked what had happened, I tried to explain, but my voice wouldn't come out properly. Remembering Michael pouring beer on me, tears started to flow. Seeing this, my husband brought me some warm water and said, "Sorry, I shouldn't have asked now. Just rest and don't think about anything," before going to prepare some warm soup. He had made soup so that it would be ready whenever I woke up. I cried again at my husband's kindness. Thanks to my husband's care, I started to feel better in about 2 days. When I told my husband about what I had endured from our eldest son and his wife in his absence, he looked grim. "We can't tolerate this any longer." "Yeah, me neither." 3 weeks passed since our eldest son and his wife went on their overseas trip. As my husband and I were enjoying peaceful days, my phone rang. It was a call from Michael. "Here we go." I pressed the call button. "What the hell is going on? Why is the house gone? Didn't you say to make the house clean?" After recovering from my cold, I told my husband everything about our eldest son and his wife's actions. They made me do household chores while I was ill. They poured beer on me while I had a high fever and then went on an overseas trip. After hearing my story, my husband muttered, "We can't tolerate this any longer." Until now, I had been calming my husband down, but I no longer felt the need to do so after what had happened. I couldn't forgive them myself. Actually, we had been secretly planning to build a new house and live there just the two of us, without telling our eldest son and his wife. The house wasn't finished yet, but to make a statement, we moved to a monthly rental apartment and sold the house we were living in. The sale was quickly finalized because there had been interest in purchasing the land to build a store. Originally, we planned to keep the old house for our eldest son and his wife, but after such treatment, we felt no need to consider them. The land was already cleared, so they must have been shocked to find the house gone. The new house will be completed in about 2 weeks. A carpenter friend is helping us, allowing us to store our belongings and furniture ahead of time. We disposed of all belongings of our eldest son and his wife. When I mentioned this, Michael threatened, "Don't joke with me. I'll report you to the police." Michael was yelling in the background, and his wife was screeching too. Then my husband asked for the phone, so I put it on speaker and handed to him. "Go ahead and call the police. I'll do the same. You guys left your mother with a high fever after dumping beer on her. Then just went off on an overseas trip, forcing a sick mother to do chores. I wonder whose crime is worse, yours or mine for disposing of your belongings?" My husband's face, as he spoke in a low voice to Michael, looked almost villainous. "That has nothing to do with this. And selling the house, where are we supposed to live now? Where are you guys even staying? The house was originally mine and your mother's. It's our right to sell it. And you're no longer considered a son to us. Don't ever contact us again." My husband said that and then hung up the phone. 2 weeks passed, and we received word that our new house was completed, so we went to see it together. The one who contacted us was my husband's acquaintance, the carpenter Kevin. He is about 60 years old and the site supervisor here. As we toured the house, he explained the interior to us. Considering our future retirement life, it's a single-story, barrier-free house. The house was more wonderful than we had imagined, and we couldn't wait to start our life here. Kevin and his team had moved the furniture we had decided to keep, and when I thanked him, he laughed, saying, "No need to thank me. Brian has helped me a lot in the past, so this is the least I could do." Thus, my husband and I began our life together in this new house. The house was more comfortable than expected, and the absence of my eldest son and his wife made our life together peaceful. However, about a month after moving into our new house, the devilish couple, my eldest son and his wife, showed up. Neither my husband nor I had given them our address, and we had explained the situation to our younger son and his wife. So they shouldn't have known. They must have used a detective or something to find us. Hey, selling the house and disposing of our stuff, then moving yourselves into such a nice place is too much. As the eldest son, I have a right to live here, right? My eldest son and his wife glared at me. They were carrying large bags in both hands. I was appalled to see them intending to live here without doubt, even after we cut out parental ties. Then my husband appeared from the back of the house. "What are you doing here? What do you mean? You took our place to live, and now you say that? We're going to live here from today." Just as they said that and tried to enter, the front door opened. "Michael? Why are you here? Came to cause more trouble?" "Michael, come on, you're old enough to be independent," David said with a look of exasperation. Beside him were his wife and their 2 children. The younger son's family had come to visit because the new house was completed. After arriving and settling in, they had gone to a nearby convenience store. "Who's that? Are they bad people?" My grandchildren, in 5th and 3rd grade, asked innocently. As my husband was about to send my eldest son and his wife away, he seemed to have an idea. "David and his family will be staying for a week, you 2 can stay as well. But don't think you can live here permanently," he said, inviting everyone inside. The eldest son and his wife lounged on the sofa first. "I'm tired. Emily, coffee, please. I want one without sugar and milk," they demanded as usual, shocking David's wife. Then the grandchildren approached and asked, "Why can't Auntie and Uncle do it themselves if they're adults? I can pour my own juice, and I'm just a kid." Chastised by the innocent grandchildren, Susan felt so uncomfortable that she went to pour her own coffee. The why attacks from the grandchildren continued. "Why can't Auntie cook? My mom can make anything. Why doesn't Uncle clean up after himself? Dad and I always clean our plates after eating. Why can't you do it yourself? My sister and I do." The grandchildren, well raised by David's wife, were diligent and always helped out, showing the stark contrast with my eldest son and his wife. David and his wife cooperated well, sharing the household responsibilities. So, the grandchildren were puzzled why my eldest son and his wife couldn't do things for themselves. Initially, the couple retorted, but the relentless why attacks didn't stop, and by the end of the week, both were utterly exhausted. Especially Susan, who seemed to have an issue with being called Auntie, and angrily told the grandchildren not to call her that. But when the children innocently asked, "Why not? You are an auntie, aren't you? You're not young enough to be called sissy," she was visibly shocked. David, my son, and I couldn't help but laugh at this. After the younger son's family left, we sent my eldest son and his wife away. Perhaps due to the exhaustion from the grandchildren's constant questioning, they left without much resistance. However, a few months later, they contacted us asking to borrow money. When they lived with us without paying rent or contributing to household expenses, Michael's convenience store job sufficed for them. But after being kicked out, they had to pay their own rent and living expenses. They continued spending without saving. And apparently were living off debts. The only income was from Michael's part-time job, 4 days a week. His wife didn't even try to work. Their audacity to ask for money in such a situation was beyond belief. We will never lend you money or help you in any way," I said and blocked Michael's number. A few days later, while my husband and I were out, our home security company contacted us about an intruder. The footage showed my eldest son and his wife sneaking in through a window, attempting to steal money due to their financial desperation. It was pitiful that they resorted to breaking into their parents' home for money. Fortunately, they hadn't caused trouble for others yet. They were soon apprehended by security and taken by the police. Although released due to being family, they were severely reprimanded. Since then, they stopped trying to intrude or impose on us. My husband and I had blocked their numbers, so no more calls came. David mentioned that they had contacted him asking to borrow money. Apparently, they had borrowed from loan sharks and were now unable to repay, running from their debts. It's their own fault. They should repay their own debts, he said and blocked Michael's number too. We don't know what happened to them after that, but we decided to forget about people who could laugh after dousing a sick person with beer. With no more contact with them, my husband and I are enjoying our peaceful days. He used to teach calligraphy at the community center but now does it in a room at home, which was built especially for that. We had a spacious room built specifically for that purpose. When the younger son's family visits, the grandchildren learn calligraphy with other kids, making friends and having fun. I am grateful for our peaceful daily life and cherish every day. Dad, Mom, this is Emma, the woman I want to marry. Pleased to meet you. I'm looking forward to getting to know you. I was very nervous when I first went to my in-laws' house to announce our engagement. By nature, I'm not very vocal about my thoughts, and my ability to speak diminishes even more when I'm nervous. My mother-in-law gave me a warm smile. "What a reserved young lady," she said. Her words brought me some relief, but I was unaware of the secrets this family held. My name is Emma. This summer marks the first one Tom and I will spend together as a married couple. Since we both work, our only long breaks are during Thanksgiving and New Year's. Thanksgiving came 3 months after our wedding, so we went to greet both families. With both of our parents live out of state, we couldn't really relax over Thanksgiving. That's why we planned to take it easy, just the two of us, during the upcoming New Year holiday. Yet, I wonder how things ended up like this. It was a month ago. Tom suddenly showed me a brochure for a hot spring inn. "Let's go here for New Year's," he said. Thinking it would be a trip just for the two of us, I was delighted. Hot Springs. It's been a while since we've gone on a trip just the two of us. Did you make the reservation? But my joy turned to disappointment in an instant. Yeah, this inn is run by a relative. My parents are going, so they said we should join them, and they've made the reservation. What do you mean? So, it's going to be a trip with my parents and us, for in total. We're planning to pick you up in the morning, so please be ready. The thought of traveling with my in-laws was daunting. But being newly married, I didn't feel it was my place to complain, so I resigned myself to the situation. Then, an unexpected turn of events occurred. A week before the trip, while I was packing, Tom came home from work. Good timing. We're going to stay over starting tomorrow, so hurry up and pack your bags. Wait, isn't the trip next week? I thought maybe he got the dates mixed up, but that wasn't the case. My brother and his wife are coming to stay at our parents' place starting tomorrow. It's the holidays, after all. And we haven't seen my brother in a while, so we decided to join them. What? I was too stunned to process the sudden change of plans. I wanted to refuse staying at my in-laws, but my inability to say no led to me departing with Tom. Truth be told, my relationship with my in-laws isn't great. During our engagement visit, my mother-in-law's comment about me being a reserved young lady hid an ulterior sentiment. More like gloomy than reserved. She remarked to Tom in the kitchen, thinking I couldn't hear. When we visited for New Year's greetings, my father-in-law, Bill, was harsh as well. As a daughter-in-law, you should come earlier and help out around the house, he scolded. All I could do was apologize, and since then, I've been under constant pressure from my in-laws to have children, which has taken a toll on me mentally. Just the idea of traveling with them was daunting enough, but staying at their house made me want to flee. However, that wasn't an option, and before I knew it, we had arrived at my in-laws' Tom's car. As we opened the front door, my mother-in-law rushed over. "You're late." "Emma, come help out in the kitchen." Upon entering the kitchen, I was greeted by an abundance of ingredients. "Please take care of dinner preparations." With that, she went off to the living room. As I stood there bewildered, I heard the sound of a car outside. It seemed my brother-in-law and his wife had arrived. Then, my father-in-law dashed out of the living room to help carry in their luggage. As I was wondering why he didn't do it for me, my brother-in-law's wife, Emily, entered. Emily is about 5 years younger than me and seems to have a completely opposite personality. It appears that my father-in-law is particularly fond of her. My mother-in-law also joined in, making a fuss over Emily. It's like a dream come true to have a grandchild on the way. I knew Emily was pregnant. And I understood why everyone was fussing over her, but the difference in how they treated us made me feel resentful. Even Tom, my husband, was showering Emily with attention. "Emma, could you get Emily a drink, please? Emma, how's dinner coming along? Could you at least prepare some appetizers first?" It's one thing for my mother-in-law to pile work on me, but why is Tom joining in on making me do all this? The next day, and the day after, it was the same routine, and I ended up crying alone in my bed. Then, on the morning we were supposed to leave for our trip, I was asked to deliver something to a neighbor's house. Despite the rush, it was a short distance away, so I left the house as I was told. I returned in about 15 minutes, but something seemed off. I tried to open the front door, but it was locked. I had been tricked. Of course, the car was gone too. Feeling completely lost, I received a call from my husband. Emily said she's feeling well, so we decided to take her with us. "So, Emma, please sit this one out." I had heard that Emily and her husband wouldn't be going on the trip because she was pregnant, but apparently, since she felt well, they decided to take her instead of me. I couldn't tell if this was a sudden decision or if it had been planned all along. Maybe they're trying to push an unwanted wife towards divorce. At that moment, something inside me snapped, and I found myself smiling more than I ever thought possible. "Is that so? Have a safe trip." Tom sounded a bit puzzled on the phone. Probably, he expected me to cry or cling to him. "We're covering the lodging costs, so I'm going to use the usual credit card." I maintained my smile as I responded. "Okay, got it. Now, what to do next?" I had my valuables with me when I left the house, so I could manage to get back on my own. But the idea of just going back was frustrating. As I stood at the front door pondering my next move, someone called out from behind. "Aren't you the wife from this house?" It was Lily from the neighborhood. Known for being chatty, she had spoken to me on my first day here while I was cleaning the yard. I had ended up listening to her one-sided conversation for quite a while. At that moment, something clicked for me. Actually, I tearfully told Lily about being left behind from the trip and how I had been forced to work non-stop since arriving. I never thought I'd be left behind from the trip, and I didn't expect to be made to work so much. No one is even offering to help. I believe my performance was quite convincing. Lily listened to me with genuine concern. "It's tough, isn't it? I wonder what they find so displeasing about you." I poured out everything that had happened to me. "I've been left without a car, so how am I supposed to get back home?" As I said this with tears in my eyes, Lily offered to let me stay over if I wanted. I hesitated, but eventually decided to accept her kindness. Upon entering Lily's house, I was greeted by her husband and son, who were both surprised. Lily explained the entire situation to them. "That's terrible. Please feel free to relax here." Her husband and son welcomed me warmly. After entering the guest room, I immediately made a phone call to a specific number. It was to the credit card company. Tom had never owned a credit card before our marriage, but he started using my family card after we got married. So he would likely use this card to pay for the trip. Tom just wants to look good in front of others. I canceled the card and turned off my cell phone. During my stay at Lily's, I was treated with the utmost care. Whenever I tried to help with anything, I was kindly asked to just sit back and relax. I knew I had to thank them somehow in the future. Lily enjoys interacting with the neighborhood, often engaging in long conversations with anyone who stops by her front door. My story seemed to spread quickly throughout the neighborhood. I wonder what Tom dislikes about such a nice wife. While having dinner that evening, Lily sighed. Then, she started talking about Tom's past. You know, he's always had a bit of a wandering eye, even involved in some two-timing. That's when I learned a shocking truth. What happened to the girl he was supposed to marry before? According to Lily, Tom had been close to marrying someone else, but that person had suddenly disappeared. Hearing about his bad track record with women for the first time, I had a bad feeling. I decided to gather as much information as possible while I was here. I thought about waiting for Tom and his family to return, but I couldn't stand it and decided to go back by bus the next day. By then, I had become the pitiable wife of the neighborhood. Thanks to my convincing act and Lily's local network. After thanking Lily and her family, I decided to look for a detective to investigate Tom. When I turned my cell phone back on at home, I found several voicemail messages. None of which were of concern for me. The card's not working, what's going on? Make sure you clean the house. We're coming back tomorrow, so have dinner and baths ready for everyone. There was no apology whatsoever. But thinking about ending things with him brought a natural smile to my face. Even the voicemails were filled with verbal abuse. This could be evidence for a divorce case. The next day, Tom returned home. His first words were an insult aimed at me. What the hell have you been telling the neighbors about us? Don't mess around. I had no intention of engaging with him seriously, so I decided to play dumb. What are you talking about? People have been telling me all over the neighborhood how pitiful the wife is and how terrible the family is. I haven't said anything, though. Maintaining an oblivious stance, Tom eventually gave up and secluded himself in his room. For the next few days, there was no conversation between Tom and me. Then suddenly, I received a call from my mother-in-law, Emma. Come here and apologize. What are you talking about? The whole neighborhood is talking about how we're mistreating you. For the first time during our conversation, I couldn't help but smile. But isn't that the truth? What did you say? I've only spoken the truth. My mother-in-law fell silent for a moment, and I quickly continued. By the way, is Bill working late again today? He said he was, but what about it? I hope it's really overtime. It would be hopeless if both father and son had wandering hearts. What do you mean by that? That's all I know. Goodbye. Actually, I heard from Lily that my father-in-law was having an affair. Lily mentioned that while she was out shopping, she saw my father-in-law arm in arm with an unknown woman, disappearing into the bustling streets in broad daylight. Not only that, but other neighbors had witnessed similar scenes. And, as it turned out, Tom was also cheating. I gathered evidence of Tom's infidelity and consulted a lawyer. After the divorce proceedings were set in motion, and I was about to leave the house, Tom called me upon returning from work. Hey, my stuff is gone. What's going on? You'll receive a certified mail soon, so check that. What? I was a fool to have married someone like you. It seemed Tom realized what was happening. Emma, you must be misunderstanding something. I only love you. His sudden panic was understandable. It was clear that life would become difficult for Tom without my income. Especially since he claimed to be sending $400 a month to his parents, which turned out to be a lie. It was actually child support. It was finally time to confront him. What's this about a love child? You've been lying to me. How did you? And cheating with another woman, too? How could you do such a thing? It's not like that, Emma. The classic excuse of a cheater. How pathetic. And to think, you went on a trip to meet your child, leaving me behind at your parents' house. Meeting up with your loved child and the mother. Yes, that was the real purpose behind Tom's trip. He had arranged to meet his own child separately from the family during the trip. Learning this truth was shocking, but it solidified my decision to divorce. I was initially attracted to Tom's outgoing personality, which complemented my introverted nature. I thought I could overlook an affair or two out of fear of being alone after divorce, but this was too much disrespect. I finally woke up to reality. Of course, I'm divorcing you. From now on, you'll have to manage with your own income to pay child support for your secret child. Tom's affair partner turned out to be a waitress at a cafe we frequented. The thought of them laughing at me together while I was there too makes my blood boil. I demanded the numerous costs used on my credit card. Tom spent a lot of money on his affair with my credit card. Tom's affair became known at his workplace, leading to his resignation due to the judgmental looks from colleagues. He ended up returning to his parents' home, living on a part-time job. The affair also caused discord between my in-laws, turning family relations sour. My brother-in-law and his wife decided to cut ties. Although I never got along with them, Emily reached out with an apology after the divorce. It turned out we simply had incompatible personalities, and she was actually quite normal. She had been reluctantly dragged along on that trip too. I was relieved to hear her baby was born healthy. As for Tom's parents, they ended up selling their home and moving into an apartment. With the money, he paid off my credit card in one lump sum. My mother-in-law, who had never worked before, started a part-time job but apparently struggled due to her personality. My father-in-law became even more absent from home, with his whereabouts unknown. Tom has been having a hard time finding a job. The rural network can be surprisingly extensive. All of this information came from the people living near Tom's parents' house. I learned all this when I visited Lily to thank her again after my life had settled down post-divorce. That's when I found out Tom's family had moved, and Lily mentioned something surprising. My son would like to have a proper conversation with you, Emma. Would you mind contacting him if you're interested? Her son seemed like a calm and kind person. Initially hesitant, I decided to take a chance and reached out, thinking it might be fate. After talking, we clicked well and continued a long-distance relationship, leading to marriage 2 years later. I've grown to love him deeply, convinced he would never betray me. Lily has become my mother-in-law. 2 years later, we welcomed a daughter, and our family of 3 lives happily. My new in-laws adore our daughter and treat me kindly. It's been a strange twist of fate, but perhaps it was meant to be. That ordeal made me stronger. And I'm grateful for this turn of events. You should reconsider marrying this guy. At our wedding, my nephew warned me, pointing at the groom. Initially, I didn't take the child's words to heart. But my nephew is a child with a mysterious power. I can see the future. This guy is going to get arrested soon. And you'll be crying. If you go through with this marriage, it'll only bring you sadness. My nephew's specific words gave me an uneasy feeling, and I turned to look at the man beside me. Then, having heard my nephew's words, the man suddenly changed his demeanor and began to laugh ominously. Kid, how did you figure out who I really am? It's my ability to predict the future. Haha. That's fantastic. You guys must all be living in a fantasy world. I can't deal with this anymore. Hey, everyone, let's get out of here. Without a second glance at me, the bride, he belittled my nephew and ruined the wedding, escaping the venue with the guests. His true nature was, my name is Emily. I was a nurse living with my boyfriend. And his name was Mike. He was a hard-working salesman, often staying late at work. Busy with my nursing job, I had never seen him at work, but I had seen his salary deposited in our bank account. I had even met what seemed to be a client of his by chance once, and he seemed to be busy with entertaining them on weekends too. We couldn't go on dates, but we were happy and in love at home. Our company pays well after promotions. Mike would say this, working hard at his job, and I trusted him deeply. Having been a studious student with no dating experience, I never thought I'd be involved with men, but that wasn't the case at all. I met Mike at a mixer after becoming a nurse, and he became my first boyfriend. When he talked about saving for our future, I fell even more in love. Thinking he was someone who thought seriously about the future. And so, we started living together. He helped with household chores and was always willing to help me, making it the best life for me. Maybe we would end up getting married and crossing the finish line together. Most of the nurses around me were too busy to even think about it, so it felt like I was getting ahead of them. I felt bad for my colleagues, but then I started imagining having a baby and more. Am I getting ahead of myself? But I can't help fantasizing when I think about the person I love. What are you grinning about all by yourself? It's creepy. Thinking about your boyfriend Mike again? Yes, I am. You're not even trying to deny it. My colleague, Lisa, sighed in exasperation at the usual me. But I can't help it because I'm in love, right? Ah, Mike. I wonder if he's working hard right now. I can't wait to see him. This guy at work made me laugh so much today. It was really funny. I'll introduce him to you sometime, Emily. Yeah. I'm looking forward to it. Mike and my life together was modest but filled with laughter and was so comfortable. I'm the type to dote on my partner, and to support Mike in his work, I would prepare lunch for him every day. I made breakfast and dinner too, but when I had night shifts or was too tired from work, I would leave the food with a note on the table. Or Mike would cook instead. We supported each other like this. And when our schedules matched, we would enjoy our meals together while having fun conversations. I was looking forward to living such a fulfilling life with a kind husband after marriage. I'm a bit short on cash this month. Could you lend me $100? I'll pay it back into our account once I get my salary. You're not pushing yourself too hard with the savings, are you? It's okay to tell me when you're short on cash. Thanks, Emily. I love you. Mike, you're so dramatic. It's understandable that his salary is low since he's still working his way up. As a nurse, I was earning well, so it wasn't a problem when Mike asked for help with money. He was very kind to me and always whispered sweet nothings. Recently, he proposed to me, we started planning our wedding, and he promised to save money together as a fund for it. At Mike's suggestion, we opened a new account to deposit a fixed amount into it every month. Mike was in charge of managing this joint account. Since I was often stuck at the hospital with many patients, it made more sense for Mike, who could make deposits and withdrawals between sales appointments, to manage our finances. Until now, we had been managing our finances separately. But I felt really fortunate to have such a reliable boyfriend to entrust with our new joint account. I was really looking forward to the wedding with such a person. It was decided that we would register our marriage after the wedding ceremony. Later, I shared the news of our marriage with my colleagues. Everyone was happy for me and said they would come to the ceremony, but Lisa alone looked pale. What's wrong, Lisa? Could it be you're being deceived? I was taken aback by the unexpected response and didn't understand what she meant at first. But I quickly grasped Lisa's words and smirked. Lisa, you're just jealous because I'm getting married, aren't you? No, it's not that. What if he runs off with the money from your joint account? Run off? Mike wouldn't do something like that. You can't be sure. And I saw something the other day. I think it was Mike entering a betting shop. I couldn't follow him inside. But I'm pretty sure it was him. Why would you say something like that? Mike does betting. Maybe he just went to use the bathroom. It's mean of you to say such terrible things. Lisa, you fool. Emily, wait. I snapped at Lisa and stormed off back to my work, frustrated. Even if she was jealous, there was no need to say such things. It's as if she's making Mike out to be some kind of marriage scammer. There's no way that could be true. But I never imagined that I would come to regret not heeding her words. I was too blindly in love. And several months later, although we only communicated about work, Lisa and I hadn't properly made up by the time the wedding day arrived. The wedding was a small affair with just close family and relatives, as Mike had wished. Since both our parents had already passed away, there were no formal introductions before the ceremony, but looking around, I noticed that Mike's relatives were mostly tough-looking men. Then, recalling Lisa's words about Mike being a marriage scammer, I suddenly felt anxious. Oh no. I decided to trust Mike, but now Lisa's words are really getting to me. Especially today, on our wedding day. What's wrong, Emily? You look pale. Oh, no. That's not it. I'm just really happy right now. Suddenly, Mike, who was sitting at the groom's table, peeked at my face, and I hastily made an excuse. Only to be met with his picture-perfect smile. Is this what I get to experience every day in married life? I've fallen for his handsome face. Mike was an incredibly handsome man that everyone envied. Even when I showed Lisa his photo, she said, "It's great that you got such a kind and handsome boyfriend." But now she's denying Mike. No, no more overthinking. I switched my mindset and stood up with Mike to cut the cake. Just as Mike and I were about to cut the cake with the wedding knife together, a familiar boy approached, causing me to halt my action. It was my nephew, Max. Max, what's wrong? Then Max grabbed my wedding dress, as if trying to pull me away from Mike or to bring me towards him. And then he pointed at Mike. You better not marry this guy. What? I was taken aback by Max's words and couldn't help but exclaim in surprise. Everyone in the venue who heard Max's words was also in an uproar, clearly shocked. From the groom's side, angry shouts of, "What are you talking about?" could be heard, making everyone tense. I inadvertently let go of the wedding knife I was holding with Mike. We needed to calm the situation somehow. Max, you're startling everyone. Go back and sit with your mom. I crouched down in front of everyone and whispered to Max to return to his seat. But Max shook his head and said, I can see the future. This guy is going to get arrested soon. And you'll be crying. If you marry him. It'll only make you sad. I used to think it was just child's talk, but Max was utterly serious in his response. Both Lisa and Max, I wondered why they were trying to ruin my happiness, but I couldn't shake the feeling of unease. And that feeling was confirmed by the sound of Mike's laugh echoing eerily through the venue. Mike. I stepped back from the eerily laughing Mike and called out to him. But Mike didn't look at me, instead, he turned his gaze to Max. Kid, how did you figure out who I really am? It's my ability to predict the future. Haha. That's great. You and your family are all living in a fantasy world. I can't stand this anymore. Hey, you guys, let's get out of here. All right, boss. At Mike's signal, his relatives at the groom's table rushed out of the wedding venue. Mike followed them without a second glance at me. I could only stare blankly at their retreating figures, collapsing on the spot from the shock of the swift turn of events. Emily, are you okay? Lisa. Seeing my distraught state, Lisa, with whom I had been arguing, rushed over to me faster than anyone else, and I felt tears welling up. Lisa, you came to the wedding. I said terrible things to you, and now the wedding is ruined. It can't be helped. You were head over heels for Mike, and that's one of your good points. I shouldn't have denied that. I'm sorry, Lisa. I'm so sorry. As the tears flowed, I threw my arms around Lisa, embracing her tightly. Lisa let out a sigh of relief and wrapped her arms around me in return, offering comfort and reassurance. Sorry to interrupt, but I just remembered something. Mary. Then my sister, who had also rushed over, suddenly raised her voice as if she remembered something. She said she would check something and left. Meanwhile, Lisa and I, along with Max, decided to contact the police and explain the situation. My family and I were asked to stay at the venue for questioning. I got an email from Mary. A photo? After a while, an email arrived from my sister with a photo attached. It was a wanted poster, and the man in the photo, especially around the eyes, looked just like Mike. The name on it was Sam, suggesting that Mike was probably an alias. This is him. This is the guy from earlier. Max, who had quickly realized Mike's true identity, pointed out that the person in the photo was indeed Mike. My relatives gathered around and were momentarily in turmoil, agreeing that it was indeed the same person. The wanted poster described him as the mastermind behind a group that defrauded students from a local university, swindling them out of money. Yes, Mike's true identity was the leader of a fraud ring. To think he went as far as undergoing plastic surgery to change his appearance just to get close to me. Was it because I was a nurse? Perhaps, considering my busy job and decent income, he and his accomplices targeted me as their mark. I was paralyzed for a while by the realization that I had been deceived. Later, numerous reports of a strange man in a tuxedo causing a disturbance with his associates were made, and Mike was arrested by the police. A few weeks later, fingerprints left at the venue matched those of the wanted criminal Sam, confirming his identity. His accomplices, who had posed as relatives, were also arrested one by one, bringing the case to a close. I never imagined I'd become a victim of such a crime. Looking back on my memories with Mike, I realize I was too blinded by love to see that I was being deceived. It's beyond shocking, it's embarrassing. The money I had deposited into our joint account, which Mike likely spent, was gone. According to security footage, he had mostly squandered it on gambling. Confronted with these facts, I took some time off work and secluded myself at home. Lisa occasionally brought me food and worried about my haggard appearance. But I knew I had to start looking forward again, even if just a little, to return to work. When the doorbell rang and I opened the door, expecting Lisa, it was my sister. After the incident, my sister would also visit me from time to time. Everyone's so kind. How are you feeling? You still seem a bit worn out. After what happened, it's no surprise I'm shocked, even if it was my own doing. Cheer up. I brought you some treats today. And I thought we could have Max take a look. Max? As I let my sister inside, Max, who had been hiding behind her, suddenly appeared and stared intently at me. I hadn't noticed Max. Am I that mentally exhausted? Or is this another one of Max's abilities? No, that can't be. Such spiritual things. I must be really tired. But then again, Max was the first to see through Mike's true identity. He claimed he could predict the future. Could it really be true? As Max continued to stare, I started to feel uneasy. Yeah, Emily, I can't see you crying anymore. Really? That's good. Is it good? I received a positive diagnosis, but I'm still not fully convinced about the future predicting ability. But Max was the one who exposed Mike. As I was pondering this, my sister showed me a photo of a man. Actually, Max saw this man and said he should be by your side. Is this a matchmaking photo? You're not suggesting I go on a matchmaking date, are you? I whispered to my sister, making sure Max couldn't hear. Seriously, what are you thinking? Suggesting a matchmaking date to me when I'm heartbroken after finding out my boyfriend was a criminal? Well, Max insists it's a good idea. Some of my friends got married thanks to his predictions. Hey, you're not using Max for business, are you? Mary. How rude. Don't lump me in with your ex. She might be getting a referral fee. I was skeptical of my sister's flustered response, thinking I'd had enough of men for a while. But if Max's mysterious abilities had indeed helped my sister's friends find marital bliss, perhaps it's worth giving his insights a chance. Even if that weren't the case, it's about time I stopped dwelling on the past and start looking forward. I moved from my sister to squat down in front of Max. If Max says so, maybe I should meet this guy. Yeah. Emily, you'll find happiness this time for sure. Seeing Max smile for the first time filled me with joy, and I found myself smiling too. I can't wallow in self-pity forever. The saying goes, strike while the iron is hot, and I was eager to meet this man. Filled with hope, I finally had the matchmaking meeting arranged by my sister a few weeks later. Do I look okay, Mary? You look fine, just relax. Why are you the most excited about this? I was getting my dress checked by my sister, who had come with me, and couldn't help but notice her unusually high spirits. Amidst my sister's suspicious excitement, I was told to go ahead and found myself in front of the room where my matchmaking partner awaited. When I slid open the door and announced my entrance, the man from the photo was sitting there, waiting. Ah, the nerves. We were both visibly nervous, but we started with simple introductions. The man, named John, was a fellow medical professional like me. Maybe my sister was excited because he was a doctor. Having such a pragmatic sister can be a hassle. But our commonalities didn't end there. John, being a handsome doctor, you must be quite popular. It's surprising you're still single. Actually, I had a girlfriend until recently, but it turns out she was a marriage scammer, and I was unfortunately deceived. What? I was taken aback by our unexpected similarity. No way, a fellow victim. When I shared that my recent ex was also a marriage scammer, John seemed equally shocked. John must have been deceived by a woman who was his match in terms of attractiveness. I feel like I have no redeeming qualities and don't match up at all. Just as I started to lose confidence, as if to blow away those doubts, John, who had seemed nervous until moments ago, firmly grasped my hand and looked at me with sparkling eyes. With so much in common, don't you feel it's fate? If you're willing, Emily, I'd like us to date with marriage in mind. I know I was deceived. But I promise to protect you. No, I will protect you. His earnest declaration, as he held my hand tightly, made my heart race. It seemed I had taken a liking to John as well. As I naturally squeezed his hand back, I found myself saying yes. The matchmaking with John, the man from the photo, was a great success. Later, I learned that John's ex-girlfriend was part of the same fraud group as Mike. The thought that multiple marriage scams were happening concurrently was chilling, but like Mike, she was arrested. John was heartbroken when my sister and Max, who happened to visit him as patients, mentioned they could see him with me. They suggested a matchmaking meeting, and it seems he agreed. My sister hadn't mentioned any of this. She better not have promised John she'd take a referral fee later. She's so calculating. But thanks to my sister and Max, I met my new boyfriend, so I won't hold it against her. After several years, John and I finally tied the knot. Our wedding ceremony went off without a hitch, and I was at the pinnacle of happiness. In contrast, Mike received a 10-year prison sentence at his trial. I believe that deceiving people is a serious crime. Honestly, I wish he'd never be released from prison, but I do hope he'll reform. That's why John and I found ourselves visiting the prison where Mike was held. It's been a while, hasn't it? Emily. Why are you here for a visit, and who's that guy with you? Nice to meet you, I'm John, Emily's husband. I apologize for the sudden visit, but we wanted to express our gratitude. Gratitude. Actually, John is kind of thanking you for letting me go, it seems. Thanking a criminal is quite a confusing concept. If you hadn't let go of Emily, I wouldn't have been able to marry her. So, I can't thank you enough. Are you kidding me? You're flaunting your happiness. Mike, furious, was unrecognizable from before. Even faced with Mike's reaction, John maintained his gratitude till the end. John is truly big-hearted. But with that attitude, it seems Mike won't be repenting anytime soon. He didn't even apologize to me. So, I too, in my own way, finally said to Mike, "Thanks for deceiving me, we're really happy now," which made him incredibly angry. It felt good to see him so riled up, and I found it quite refreshing. Speaking of refreshing, I disposed of all Mike's belongings left in my house as trash. They were useless to keep around, and it wouldn't be fair to John. Yes, John and I decided to cohabit in my house, and he moved in with me. It was the house I shared with Mike, but we planned to move once we saved enough for a new place. For now. Being with John made me forget all about it, and I was incredibly happy. Life with John was picture perfect. Both being in the medical field, he supported my desire to continue working for our patients, and I was able to keep my nursing job. John helps out with the household chores, and sometimes he cooks meals that are absolutely divine. His cooking skills are so impressive, he could easily switch careers to become a chef. I remember being amazed the first time I tasted his cooking. We want kids in the future, but for now, we're more than content, thinking we'll get there when we're ready. Both John and I had our share of hardships, but by taking that step forward and overcoming them, we found this wonderful connection. I believe in the power of trusting others, as it can lead to happiness. Being betrayed once might make it hard to trust again, but not everyone out there is bad, considering the vast number of people in the world. To those who are hesitant, I hope you can be true to your heart and take that first step.